What's going on, Philadelphia? I am so sorry that I missed you on the postgame. I am John Barchard. It is Bell The Birdmen. That is Vince Quinn and Taylor Kredatus. Taylor Kredatus, the only human being at Sandbox Studio currently because a little bit of an IR problem still going on at my household. Very fun over here. Mater D. Nurse Barchard, as I think everyone is calling me now. Vince Quinn, how are you other than, surviving that wild Giants game in MetLife with you and Taylor?
Yeah, I feel like shit, but first off, I told you, John. I told you this team did not have talent. I told you all year long they was not good. They've been falling off a cliff. They are back to reality. That team sucks, and they have a lot to work on because their best player is Saquon Barkley, and if they pay him $20 million or something, they are just completely fucked, and they can't draft a quarterback that's good anytime soon. So, yeah, so there you go. Welcome back, bud.
Okay, great, yeah. Not as bad as, complaining. And by the way, I gave up on the Giants' talent thing weeks ago. So this whole dunk between you two about, me trying to, emphasize how we shouldn't count them out when they're 6-1. Yeah, nice try. I'll come back to the Cowboy stuff here in a little bit for you, though, Vince.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
There's a disclaimer that was 6 weeks old. So.
No, I know. No, it's properly done. I'm just saying you got to come a little harder if you're going to dunk on old Barchie boy. That's there's plenty to dunk on. I'm just saying, But I want to get to this first, and then I definitely want to talk about the MVP race, guys, because I think there's just so many fun, silly takes through the discourse of Mahomes and Burrow and Hurts and kind of where it all stands. But I've been in a Twitter argument basically all morning that I didn't expect to be. Anthony Harris gets signed. We know why. Familiarity, right? Like I tweet out something semi-dumb, I guess, and I say, I don't understand this outside of familiarity, and everybody's going, John, that's the only reason why you do this. And I'm going, well, he's the other problem I have with it is everyone assumes that Anthony Harris is now better than the 8 to 11 snaps that Kayvon Wallace is going to give to you. Did we forget what this guy looks like and why he didn't make the team in the first place? Did you see any Broncos tape that he was there for like a couple of weeks, and hasn't been there since last week? He got cut last week. So, I mean, he's not good. He's not better than Kayvon Wallace. He's better at coverage than Kayvon Wallace, but you can't put him in a box. I hope Anthony Harris never sees the field for as long as he gets signed here, because you're in deep shit if that happens. And that means I'm saying, yes, I would rather see Josiah Scott at safety for a couple of games or whatever it is, why Reed Blankenship and, CJ kind of get rested up here for the playoffs and just go that way. You do this as a depth signing. I mean, he was signed to the practice squad. I don't really know the rules on, how many times you can and can't bring a person up from the practice squad where they have to stay on the 53. But my imagination is he's going to have to stay on the 53 the moment that he gets called up from the practice squad. And your boy, Jeff McClain, isn't so sure that that's going to happen, as opposed to the new punter that is going to join us on Sunday, Mr. Kern, which is, if he punts bad, we'll know it. And if he's the same old Pro Bowl punter, we'll know it pretty quickly there too. But any thoughts on Anthony Harris and all this stuff here, Vince Quinn?
Well, yeah, it's fun to be at a point where, when we started this whole, the NFL season, if you will, I was bitching about safety constantly. I'm good. For this situation, I'm so good. We're talking about a fourth safety, fifth safety. I'm not worried about this, because even if for whatever Anthony Harris is going to be, or Kayvon Wallace, or whatever they're gonna bring to the team, unless they blow a major game, which I can't imagine them getting that many snaps. You have Josiah Scott. Maybe he gets some snaps back there. Avonte Maddox could do it if they need him to. So yep. I don't know how much these guys are going to play. And, your fifth safety is going to suck. You know what I mean? I just can't. I just not so worked up about it. For me, I'm way more excited that Reed Blankenship is actually good. What a miracle. For all of the things that continue to go great with this team, where everything continues to hit, now Reed Blankenship's good. We want to get Reed Blankenship snaps, and the Kobe Dean still can't see the field, and when he does, he looks like a monster out there. This team is, it's so loaded. It's so loaded. So I don't care who it is. They could have signed you to be safety, John. Yeah. I would not care. I really, at this point, I couldn't care.
Oh, yeah, and I want to be clear. I don't care that Anthony Harris is here. Great, whatever. It's an insurance policy, as people are kind of, laying it out to be. But, if you're just I don't know, if you're looking for something other than Kayvon Wallace, like, I wouldn't sign Anthony Harris, that's all. Like, I would go try and trade fucking Tay Gowan, my boy, who's got a job in Minnesota, or something like that's ridiculous,
well,
too.
But, you know what? Here's the real sticking point. Fuck the New Orleans Saints. They're bitter as shit that they got screwed in that trade where they moved up for Chris Olave. It should have been Malcolm Jenkins here right now, and the problem is the Saints don't want to give up his rights because they're butthurt. That's it. They won't release him because they're butthurt, and Malcolm Jenkins should be here. So there you go.
That I love. I don't love. The only statement I don't love is that Anthony Harris is so much better than Kayvon Wallace. 10 times better. All these takes like left and right from Eagles Twitter today. I'm like, wow, we are just hepped up on how he signed a guy, and we just want to go into it. Because I saw all these other NFL Twitter accounts like, another Pro Bowler? How he just won't quit. Be like, man, people are hurt. This is just a thing. Like, whatever. Anyway, Anthony Harris, welcome back to the Philadelphia Eagles. Hope you're not a total disaster. But Vince Quinn, I want to get into this MVP debate because, like, you know, the Giants game was such a blowout. I even told you almost instantly, and if you are one of the very few that did see us talk about it or try to talk about it live on Sunday, then you know I made this statement. I felt that Jalen Hurts was far and above. Like, there's no doubt about it. ESPN, everybody else has been saying the same thing too. The majority of opinions are saying Hurts is the leading MVP candidate right now, and that has, of course, caused some discourse with our friend. I don't even know if he's a friend, but Patrick, I just assume so because he's been on Kelsey's podcast. Patrick Mahomes is leading, the charge here, and I don't know. This is where I kind of I hate the NFL media so much. I hate it. I hate it because we do this all of the time. We are knocking Jalen Hurts for the stuff that he has, for A.J. Brown, for Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, the offensive line. Like, everyone keeps pointing back to that. In 2018, what the fuck did Patrick Mahomes have? Tyreek Hill? Yes. Travis Kelce? Yes. A better offensive line than what he had now? Yes. A better defense than what he had now? Absolutely, because he wasn't getting paid yet. At least I don't think my memory serves me correctly.
No.
So, what are we doing here? We understand the formula of the NFL. One, I'm never going to get over the you can't put a non-quarterback in the MVP discussion because every fucking writer reminds you it's the most important position and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, then we need to change the rules of this. But more importantly to me, if you're going to knock Jalen Hurts for the stuff that Patrick Mahomes made his career on to get him to this point, to have this incredibly special year, and let's not just assume Juju Smith-Schuster is a nobody either here too, which I think is hilarious through that. No one is Tyreek Hill. They have had to deal with a ton of injuries and all that stuff too, but I don't understand this at all. To me, I would still give it to Jalen Hurts regardless today. If you had to vote today, I still think this thing has a ways to go. And then I'm going to come back in a little bit because I also might agree that I don't think Jalen Hurts today, after thinking about it, maybe he does have a little bit to prove in terms of that, but curious on your thoughts in terms of Mahomes, Burrow, Hurts, and where you kind of fall in line with that right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was resistant to Jalen as the MVP. I thought he needed to be in the conversation, but now there's nothing left. I mean, there's just nothing left. The guy's played some of the most efficient football you could possibly ask for in the history of the league. I mean, he's got three picks. That's it. How many fumbles does he have on the year? 2? I mean, yeah. He's never turned the ball over. Because if you want to do all the running stuff and pile that in, yeah, fumbles are a factor. That's a negative. But, he's got so many touchdowns. He's got so many yards. The way he dynamically shapes that offense and forces the defenses to react. Jalen Hurts right now is the single most valuable player in the league. I don't care what everything else is around him. He doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't make bad decisions. His ball placement's on point. How many times do you watch him throw a ball where A.J. Brown has to go backwards when he's down the field? Where Devontae Smith has to go backwards to go and get it. Things that we've seen with Tua and has been a criticism for him. They don't do that. Jalen is on point constantly. And for him to be able to do that and make all the good decisions, because you know what? Making a nice read and a read option, is not sexy. It's not a highlight thing, but he does it, 9 times out of 10? 95% of the time? When that's MVP shit. That's him running the offense. That's him executing at the highest levels. That's him not going backwards. The Eagles aren't in major negative situations all the time because he makes good plays. He's responsible with the football. He's very smart, and his arm placement, his ball placement's amazing. So, I just don't know what else you want left. And here's the other thing, too, for me, is like, what are the odds that you're going to see him have an implosion game? The only thing that could really hurt him is that he could have an implosion game right here down the stretch, and then it's a recency bias, and that hurts him, and they'll ignore, 16 perfect games that he has, basically, for the fact that he is one that's a total dud. But, I mean, what is a total dud for Jalen Hurts? Like, 2 turnovers? I mean, and one of the 3 picks he's got to hit Kenny Gainwell right in the hands on a screen. He dropped it. Another one hit A.J. Brown in the hands. It bounced out of his hands and got picked like in like 25-degree weather. He's been immaculate. There's nothing left. It's just right now the margin is so great. The way he plays, nothing tells me that he's going to give this up. Jalen Hurts is going to be the MVP.
And that's where I'm with you, man. Like I would have a hard time disagreeing with anything that you're saying, and I'm not trying to start up something either. I'm right where Vince Quinn is. Like, yeah, like, dude, you have played near perfect football. I guess that's why I don't understand the award itself. If we're going on this, like, hey, Patrick Mahomes is going to get into this LeBron James territory where he should have the award every single year, then what's the fucking point of having the award? Just call it who is the best quarterback in the league, and that's it. Like, there is no way Jalen Hurts is ever going to catch up to Patrick Mahomes' specialness. And it's in a completely different box. So if you're telling me Patrick Mahomes is more valuable because he's a better quarterback year in and year out, and he has got more talent than Jalen Hurts, I'm not going to be able to disagree with you. It would be stupid of me to do that. But, like, in terms of near perfect football, Patrick Mahomes has yet to do that in his entire career, but it's so much more powerful because he can make up for his mistakes in a second. And that's why it's just amazing to see. And every time that I watch Patrick Mahomes, the same thing. But, like, when are we going to yeah, I'm with you. Are we ever going to understand from a year-to-year basis? And maybe we're caught up in a lot of, like, wow, look at Jalen's progression. It is the most valuable thing. And I would even say, like, together, because we are, again, so obsessed with the arm, so obsessed with it, that it doesn't even enter the conversation, probably much like it didn't for Lamar Jackson and all those things too when he was putting up those humongous gaudy numbers. Him alone, and we saw it in the Giants game, controlled 2 or 3 defenders at once. Like with his legs, then it gives him the ability to pinpoint throw that open guy or hot read Quez Watkins and like pinpoint accuracy to a point where I don't think people understood the jump until this game, if you haven't really paid attention to the Eagles. So I don't know. Like, that's what's hard for me. And here's the other crazy thing that keeps going through my head, and I apologize if this sounds like an excuse. It's not. It's just an amazing thing to me. When we're talking about 2017 and now, brother, it is unbelievable that Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson are responsible for creating 2 quarterbacks to be able to be in this discussion. Carson Wentz was the first. There's a lot of other baggage that goes with that. Jalen Hurts, a completely different player, and a lot of the stuff is him as opposed to figuring out, is it Carson? Is it the coaches? Is it all that? So I'm with you there, but, like, make no mistake about it, Jalen Hurts is not in this conversation without those 2 guys. Lane Johnson has not let up a sack, and he just broke the record, didn't he? For amount of snaps that have not given up a snap in 3 years. I don't believe that man has given up a sack. 3 years. Jason Kelce and Jordan Mailata and all of the rest make MVPs. That's what I definitely want to say. So if the only knock that I can think of is that very fact, is that Kelce, Lane, and the rest of both offensive lines have catapulted these guys into it. And I wonder, Vince Quinn, is that in the back of people's heads as well? Second-year coach, second-year quarterback, easy schedule, dominating absolutely everybody. Probably something other than Jalen Hurts going on there. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to put it. And for me, we've mentioned this term. This might have been around the beginning of the season. I'm trying to think of when I said this. But the idea of Jalen Hurts, to some degree, is a superstar game manager. And people aren't used to that, right? Like, this is where the flash of things comes into play. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, those kinds of guys. It's big, flashy plays for the people that love Justin Herbert. Big, flashy plays with the arm. All those things get people excited. Like an NBA comparison, those guys are a lot like Steph Curry. When you're thinking about what Jalen Hurts is, he's kind of like James Harden in his prime. Right? It's super efficient. It's not the most beautiful football you've ever seen necessarily, but you watch it and you just go, fuck, he's good. And he's putting up numbers every single week, and they're winning games every single week. So that's what he does. And that's what puts him in the conversation. Because, like, lesser quarterbacks, even having all of these things environmentally, wouldn't play as well as him, odds are, because of the way that he plays.
Carson Wentz is proof of that. Yeah, sorry to cut you off. Yeah.
So I can't punish him for that. If he's playing phenomenal football with the cast and he's playing as good as the cast around him, then he's the MVP. He just is. Like, does he have a better MVP case if he plays worse? Is that people's argument? Like, oh, he shows some faults and it kind of stinks, but like, I just don't know what people possibly want. At this point, it's too late in the season. There's too many things that have happened. Too many people have had bad games. He's been so rock solid, consistently good. There's nothing left. If you don't want to believe it because you don't see it because it's not flashy, that's fine. And I think that's his biggest challenge is for people who vote, do they actually watch him? Do they understand why he's good? I doubt it. Because he doesn't have the same highlights. If you're going to turn on SportsCenter, I imagine Jalen Hurts isn't filling it up because that's not what he does. But goddamn, he just consistently gets the ball where it needs to be because he knows what to do, and he's figured it out in his second year in the offense. And that's as good as you can ask for. I mean, nobody, like, this is the best leap he could have had, man. So he deserves this.
And one final point on, like, the Mahomes thing and doing less with more. Andy Reid is the best head coach in the NFL and has been for the last 5 years? 6? I mean, you can yell at Belichick and Brady and, again, whatever, yes. But, like, outside of that, there isn't another coach in the world that I would want to go to send a young quarterback. Am I wrong on that? No. Is there anyone that develops quarterbacks better in their lifetime than Andy Reid and his culprits? Has there been literally anyone better? I don't think so. Like, he made Kevin Kolb look tradable. He made Jay Feely look tradable. Coy Detmer, all these ragtag guys to, we know McNabb. We know all the other stuff that he has touched. Alex Smith reinvented his career. Motherfucker, the only reason why Nick Foles won a Super Bowl is because he stopped in Kansas City first. How does that he just has the touch. And if you're telling me that Patrick Mahomes would be able to step into a situation like this one that Jalen Hurts did, and he was drafted at this time with Nick Sirianni and a offensive coordinator, I would love to see how he pulls himself out of that. We will never know, but all my point is the bullshit that has to ride with Patrick Mahomes, rightfully because he's played his ass off so well, on top of, like, he's done less with more, which is another thing that NFL media just loves to fucking gobble up. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers has less than more right now. How's he been looking since Andrew Luck retired? Not great. What's Russell Wilson doing? Oh, yeah, right. Like, I would just love to see a guy out of the current system and where they are and had so much success because you really don't know sometimes. And I only use Russell, not to kill you again, but like, I would have not told, like, 3 games? Are you fucking kidding me? No one would have expected that. I think if you did this, and I don't think that happens to Patrick Mahomes if you take him out, but man, like, the older he gets, maybe he does. Maybe he does. It's just so ridiculous that he, like, has nothing. What do you want Jalen to do? Put up these numbers with just Quez Watkins? They tried that and got their ass kicked by Tampa Bay last year. So I don't know what people want out of the discussion. Hurts is MVP for me as long as he doesn't have a dud. And just like you said, he has yet to do that this year.
Yeah, my only question for people that doubt Jalen Hurts at this point is what are acceptable numbers? Put all the totals together. Everything that he's done. Passing, rushing, touchdowns, turnovers, completion percentage, yards per attempt, everything. Put it together. What are acceptable numbers? Because if whatever you're looking at right now on his stat sheet isn't good enough, you're just not paying attention. Yeah, you're asking for cartoon Madden numbers that do not exist. And for the fact that they've won all of these games, he's not playing multiple quarters at this point because he doesn't have to. He's been healthy for every game. They've won every game except one. Like, there's no, it's all nitpicking for the sake of doing it from people on the outside that don't understand. And that's all that's left.
Yeah, and it's just, I think I wouldn't be upset if Mahomes wins this thing because, man, like, he has had an incredible year. I have a hard time arguing against it, but it just goes to the same way of, like, how MVP is set up in the first place. So I tell you one thing I don't need to understand, and that's our good friends over at Liquid Death, liquiddeath.com/Bell, to find where your Liquid Death is closest towards you. I can just walk down the street here in about 15 minutes, which I'm going to go do right after this because it has been hell here, guys. It has been hell. Help us all. I just need some fresh, nice water to reset myself. That's what Liquid Death does, on top of being one of the coolest 16.9-ounce recyclable cans, and we love to have them at our tailgates. So all you got to do, just go to liquiddeath.com/Bell, and you can find Liquid Death nearest you because, like I said, going to need it for Chicago in about 2 seconds. And man, oh man, Vince Quinn, you guys want to talk shit about the Giants, and like you and our good friend Francisco Rojas trying to cohort some form of like, actually the Cowboys-Texans thing is the same thing, even though the Cowboys were at home, and this is not Thursday night fucking football. Mm-hmm. This is preparations. They almost lose. I think they called the 4th and goal thing on purpose. Like, oops, sorry, we sent in the wrong play. Yeah, sure you did. But I don't know. It is hilarious that you had such a strong statement about the Cowboys and that they almost lose to a 1-10-1 team. I would like to know your thoughts first and foremost, Vince Quinn.
Yeah, first off, the operative word is almost. Almost lost. Okay, they won the game. All right, it happens. Sometimes you play shitty games against shitty teams. It happens. But, like, what I'm talking about with Dallas, and this is the important thing, because I saw you in the Discord. I saw everybody groaning, oh, my God, Turbo Mike, Vince doubled down. I'm so embarrassed, basically. Like, look, I'm talking about what they've done over the course of the last month. You can look at what they've done since Dak Prescott's been back. Hell, you can look for the defense. You can look at what they've done with Cooper Rush, being able to win a couple of games with him there. I mean, you still look at them statistically over the course of the season, even with that game. 3rd-ranked offense, 3rd-ranked defense. They're one of the best teams in the league when it comes to turnovers still. They're one of the best teams when it comes to sacks still. They're a really good Tier 2 contender, with the Eagles being the only Tier 1 team. So, yeah, it's a shitty week, and I'm not here to be like, oh, my God, yeah, Dallas. But, like, to look at them and say they have one bad game and just go, suddenly this team is not good.
This isn't one bad game. This isn't one bad game. This is not one bad game. Dak Prescott has been throwing interceptions like he did in that game all season, and no one has an answer. No one has said, this is why Dak's doing it, or this is why Dak's doing it. But I can tell you sure as shit why they're panicking. OBJ's knee's really fucked up because Cole Beasley got signed, and they might be right, and they hyped this thing to where I said it sounds they're so desperate for help, and here comes T.Y. fucking Hilton. Like, when you're down to that after your team hypes this all up because they know that Dak can't do it with just C.D. Lamb or Michael Gallup, that's the problem. Ridiculous. Dak Prescott's the problem with the Dallas Cowboys, and so is that snake oil salesman of a defense. Like, Dan Quinn's done an incredible job, and I'm not going to take that away, but like, that secondary is suspect as hell. It's so suspect. And if they don't have Micah Parsons doing his thing, it's a completely different secondary.
Okay, if they don't have one of the best players in football doing his thing, they have a different secondary, sure. And I even told you last week when I was talking up Dallas, I said that Dak is the worst part of it. He is.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
how can I be scared of that? They could be beaten. I'm not disagreeing with that. They could be. Anybody could in the playoffs. But Jesus, man, if you're trying to be like, watch out for these guys, what a terrible week for you.
It's a terrible week, but it's a good month, and that's where all of this goes. It's trends. It's how things are moving. It's the big picture. It's what the team is. I mean, look, they still, again, with Cooper Rush, who absolutely sucked ass and had 1 million turnovers in that game. Final score, 26-17 was the final score in that game.
Months ago now. Months ago.
Months ago. Okay, and the Eagles' offense has gotten a lot better. I think there's a lot to talk about with that, and that's why they're a tier up. But if you're talking about the NFC, it's them and San Francisco. They're neck and neck. They're tier 2 teams. And it is what it is. So if you just want to say, hey, this is a total joke and I don't believe in any of it, that's fine. But like everything tells you numbers wise and the way they've played every other week this year, just about, when they've absolutely obliterated teams, that they are really good. So I'm not backing off of this. I'm not giving up on them. Well, I'm not going to say giving up on them, but like, because again, it just paints me in a corner. But I'm not going to just totally revert on the analysis of where that team is overall because they have one shitty week against a shitty team. I can't do it.
Yeah, but when they have 2-3 shitty weeks down towards the stretch, which I think is going to happen here, like we're going to have this conversation again. That's
if
all.
They
like
suck ass, then yes, yell at me, and or we'll see how I feel. But for right now, what they've done over the course of this season, they're one of the best teams in the league, and they were blowing people out left and right leading into that game.
Hey Taylor, if it is available quickly, can you actually look at Dak Prescott's December record in his career? Because I feel like it's his poorest month as well, so it might have just coincided with that. But another reason why I just like I'm very whatever about this Cowboys team. I don't know why. Like that's where my fucked up brain is. How could I be more scared of the Giants coming into this season than the Cowboys? How? Even though it's like they're outperforming left and right, they have more talent left and right, and it's just the same thing over and over again. This train goes the same direction, man. That's all. It's just another example of this train just rolling on down. You have those numbers there, TK?
I do.
Oh, you do?
17-5.
Oh, 17-5. Well, then this is his month and he's struggling. That's a good thing.
Yeah, this looks like it might be the best month of his career typically. 17-5
for wins.
Yeah,
oh,
September
wow, okay.
12-9, October 14-7, November 15-11, December 17-5.
Interesting.
15 interceptions overall
in the month of December. So yeah, like I just
feels like in the past 2 weeks. But it's everything else.
It's hilarious that you put the juggernaut, thing on them, and I just think they're anything but. They're anything but. And there is one other thing that I keep thinking about, and I don't know if this is still a tinfoil hat category, and you guys need to tell me. Marcus Brady was hired immediately after that Colts game. Since then, the passing offense has risen quite effectively. Coincidence? Am I looking too much into this still? I'm like ready to throw down like, okay, maybe Shane's just still figuring things out. But man, I don't know. Like to me, that's too coincidental, don't you think?
I'm with you on that, dude. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. It might have been off of the show, of the idea, because we mentioned it on the show that they signed it, but then since then it was like, okay, well, let's see how different this is. And dude, there was a play. First off, 5 wide. We've been seeing more of that. So they've been spreading the field out. They're running QB sneaks out of it and all sorts of cool shit. But one of the things that I noticed in this last game against the Giants, there was a snap where Kenny Gainwell was split out in 5 wide. And then maybe 2 snaps later, Miles Sanders split out all the way on the edge. Both of these guys on both snaps split all the way out wide, Miles Sanders in this case. And what do they do? They throw the ball down the field like 35, 40 yards to Miles Sanders. They had a matchup with him on a linebacker. They went for it. He couldn't keep his feet in, but the ball got to him. It was a pretty good throw, So, like, they're seeing some shit right now, and this is without Dallas Goedert. So, like, if the Marcus Brady thing is real, if this is actually happening and he's turning this all around and he's getting Dallas Goedert in here, holy shit. This offense is going to be it could be turning into an all-timer in front of our eyes. It's that good.
Did you guys I wonder what because you guys had a really great all-22 view from the end zone. And I have yet to see a good replay on it from anybody that has watched all 22. Was Miles Sanders in on that catch? The broadcast version, they didn't show us. It just like it looked on that deep ball, they're like incomplete, out of bounds. It looked like he got his foot in there.
That was my first reaction.
Yeah. 215-509-5833 in Texas or BellTheBirdmen.com in the Discord, and send us a link to a video that has like a distinctive thing on that. But yeah, and I don't know. And see, it's an easy thing for us to go like, that's Marcus Brady. It could just be, this is the playbook that we have always going to work on towards, the game plan towards the Giants and do all that stuff. But I don't remember seeing Miles being split out and like a go-to option for that. It could be because of a play breakdown or whatever it was. But yeah, I haven't seen a lot of those five wide looks that end up going to the running back or whatever it is. And it even on the Quez thing, that spectacular throw that everyone keeps pointing out to, rightfully so, I don't think that happens. I don't remember that having like, oh, there's a safety valve and I know where this dude is crossing. I can back up 10 yards and chuck it over this way. It just looks like people are not clogging up what they were in the beginning of the season. So whoever's doing that, thank you. That's basically all I wanted to say.
Yeah, it's really nice, right? Because one of the things that I've been yelling about a lot, including at the start of last year, was the way, like, last year it was passing a ton, then they became a running team. This year it should have been more of a running team and turning into a passing team. That's what they've done. Like, that's what you're seeing right now. If this trend's going to keep up and they start adding all of these 5-wide elements, 4-wide elements, 2 running backs in the backfield and doing some motion stuff with them, if they're evolving all of these things right now, man, this team's going to be crazy good, and this is the right path to take. You get comfortable, you know what those main things are that you do really well, and you just keep adding and adding and adding and adding, and at this point, there's just, you can't account for all of this, right? Like, that's the thing that makes the Eagles so great. People always say Swiss Army knife, but, like, this is as true a sense as you get. It's like, it's not just how do you stop them, but it's like, how many different ways do we have to stop them? And teams can't do it. Like, no team is really built to stop the Eagles in, 5 different alignments that they can throw out there consistently. Because if they can go through a game where they have to, where they can just sit there 5 wide, 4 wide most of the game, I mean, good luck. Good luck to everybody.
Man, you are absolutely right on that, because when that was my biggest takeaway, and I think a lot of people have said that this week too, where when they lined up against the Giants, even to run like simple counter plays, between that, like the RPO effectiveness that they have, where it's like, okay, counter Miles for a bunch, now counter lead with Jalen Hurts now, but that's with Lane Johnson and Kelsey pulling, and now that's the same thing, except we're not running at all. Now it's just the P part of the R&O, and there's Devontae, there's Quez, there's AJ Brown. So that terms of brilliance that's been kind of in and out of the rhythm of calling the plays, like that, I think has been one of the biggest push forwards in the last couple of weeks, is really like understanding their own tendencies. The self-scouting that they must have done after that Commanders game was infinite, because it doesn't even look the same. That's what's mind-blowing to me, is just like, now that you've seen all this stuff, and I still think there's a step or two to go for Jalen Hurts of what's on tape, and I'm really interested to see what happens next year and how they evolve that. But you can't. You can. There's so many people that account for the QB that I think that's the next. Well, one, that's what we're seeing now, is because the Giants got caught up in so much, like, we're not going to fucking let Green Bay happen to us, that we're just going to, I'd rather Jalen beat us with the arm. And then, like, every team that has done that this season, they get punished big time. That for some reason, the NFL still thinks this is a one-dimensional kid. And I think maybe, possibly, some of the coaching staff thought so as well, that he wasn't able to handle all this. And everyone just ate a big hooray, fuck you sandwich at the same time. Like
hooray, fuck you sandwich.
Hey, I'm glad you understand this, but also fuck you for not doing it earlier. Like, it's just like, hey, this is great, but Jalen was way ahead of that, and we could have been doing this in week 2 or 3. So can we get on that, please? So I would like to thank us as a group for yelling at Shane Steichen for 14 weeks almost straight. And whether the Marcus Brady thing is right or not, this passing offense is on fucking fire.
Woo. See? And now that everybody else is signing receivers and OBJ is going to be out there, and if he is healthy and you can get him for dirt cheap and he's your wide receiver 4 or 5, I mean, fuck yeah, baby. We're spreading the field. Get him out there. Let's go.
Let's talk about that real quick, because I meant to bring that up when we were talking about the Cowboys, and I'm an idiot. Mike Florio last week said, hey, we were first on OBJ with the Rams, floated that out there. He goes, I'm saying birds. Now that T.Y. Hilton is there, now Cole Beasley's back with the Bills. Was this the setup the whole time? Don't show him medicals. Don't practice for him. We got you for 1.5 starting January 1. Or whatever it is. I don't know. What do you think? OBJ ends up with an Eagle now?
His chances are as high as they've ever been, right? I mean, both of those teams were in the hunt, and now they're not. So, yeah, Howie's always looking for a bargain, and a lot of times he gets it. So if this is the plan that he's had, and they've looked, and say what you want about OBJ, I know there's plenty of people out there like, oh, this fucking guy, I hate him, I can't stand him, I don't want him here, and he's a cancer and whatever. But like, Howie's been interested in this guy. There's been too many reports that the Eagles are interested in this guy over the last couple of years. So I think that's real, and it's the offense is becoming more palatable to fit him in there. And he's going to know what his role is. I mean, I can't imagine OBJ comes in here and thinks he's better than A.J. Brown right now, that he deserves more targets than Devontae Smith right now. Like, those guys are great. So I think he's going to fit in fine if you can get him. And if you're just getting him, like, again, he said he wants to just sit there and work out for a couple of weeks. You know what? Fine. Get him in. Let him learn the playbook. He can sit there on the sideline, ride a bike during games. I don't give a shit. Just get him acclimated with everybody. Let him learn what's going on, and then have him ready for the first week of the playoffs, or excuse me, the second week of the playoffs, because you're going to be a home seed, number 1 with a bye. So I'll take that.
Yeah, same with me. Like, if your timeline with CJ lines up with OBJ playing, fucking great. If you are walking into the playoffs with a guy that has 0 tape in your offense, I'm fucking in. And if that means Quez Watkins has got to chill out for 3 games, fine. He's going to be here long term, you know, and it's not like Quez would go away in that scenario. I love the idea of OBJ being in your slot. You and I think Taylor have all agreed on that. Like, yes, as a mercenary, you don't know what he has left or whatever, but man, if there's OBJ coming across the middle while there's these angle routes of A.J. Brown and Devontae's doing a comeback, and then you throw and got it in there, there really is someone will be open on every play. And if you're running the RPO stuff to mash all that, and we already talked about the confusion, OBJ makes perfect sense here for the playoffs. I couldn't agree with you more. Vince Quinn. Taylor, Vince, anything else that has gone through our brains in the last 48 hours? Because, yeah, I think this is what's been going through mine, all this stuff.
Yeah, this is the stuff that's going through mine. Otherwise, my brain is mush. I got nothing, man.
We hope that your brain is not mush. Thanks again to everyone over at Liquid Death, liquiddeath.com/Bell. Once again, join our Discord at bellthebirdmen.com, or if you're not into that, just simply give us a text, 215-509-5833. We will see you Thursday, and then we are heading to Chicago, folks. Thanks to all of our friends, especially Vince Rizzuto over at phillysportstrips.com. So if you're coming to Chicago, which I know, where is it? Is it Kyle? Kyle's coming. There is
Kyler?
Kyler is coming as well. So that's 2. And I know there's a bunch of other people from the Midwest that want to hang out and join up. So definitely let us know if you're going. And hopefully this beard will grow about 2 feet by Saturday, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Can't wait to talk to you from Soldier Field and on Thursday. Thanks for subscribing and listening wherever you're getting your podcast. I'm John Barchard. That is Vince Quinn. For Taylor Kredatus, I'm going to go take care of some sick children. Go Birds!